Mike's Daily Podcast.
All right, I've done what I was supposed to do, and now is my time. I have a little bit of my time here. Hi, welcome to My Time with Mike Matthews. It's Mike time, and I hope you're drinking a Mai Tai, and they're so delicious. I hate them. I throw them on the ground. I threw it on the ground. It's Mike Matthews here with Café Anyway and
Mike's Daily Podcast.
This little show we called Mike's Daily Podcast at Café Anyway. Somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I will have Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley stopping by in just a little bit. We are having a great day today. I have some wonderful things and insightful things to say. I was with some friends, and they were talking to me. And then something Subi-ooby-dooby. Little gibberish for you this morning. It's 5
Mike's Daily Podcast
39 when I'm recording this. I want to tell you the podcast picture today is at the John F. Kennedy Center. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself.
Mike's
and I'm looking at the Potomac River
Podcast.
And it is Theodore Roosevelt Island is in the middle of the Potomac River, right next to the John F. Kennedy Center. Is that enough presidents for you? Theodore Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy? Or it's also called Little Island, which the Theodore Roosevelt Bridge goes over in Washington, D.C. And I was there with my friend Colin, whom I've not talked to in a long time. I feel so bad. Look who just walked in. Not Colin. But I was looking out over the Potomac, and there was this wonderful little haze, this little mist over the river. And I was looking over towards Georgetown. And we walked over to Georgetown. It was a long walk. And we ate somewhere in Georgetown Park or something. And we had just the best time. We're not gay, but we have wonderful travel. We travel well together on that Washington, D.C. trip. Look who else walked in. And I bring up the word not gay. But you know what? That doesn't matter, does it? It just doesn't matter. But, you have friends that you're close to, right? And that you don't make out with, right? That you're friends with, right? It's platonic. It's that Greek word. My point being that was a wonderful trip to Washington, D.C., and Colin was living there at the time.
And here's today's podcast picture.
He showed me around. It was kind of like a little bit of a tourist excursion. That's the fun thing when people come and visit you, is you can be a tourist with them. When I've had my cousin visit me, I went to the Golden Gate Bridge. I never go there by myself. It's only with people that... And, I met this beautiful German named Petra. I guess the only time I've been to the Golden Gate Bridge is with Germans. Well, Petra was visiting from Frankfurt, Germany, and she and I went there. And we walked across the bridge. It's about 3 miles. Or is it? It's 1.5 miles across, and then so you go there and back. It's 3 miles. My point being that the Potomac is a beautiful river, in parts. I know it's probably disgusting in others, but in that little day that we had, Colin and I, it was wonderful. Colin came to visit me in Alabama when I was working at the radio station The Wolf, which I was a program director for. I ran it. And there was a company that I worked for called, it rhymes with, what's it rhyme with? Cumulus. And they were, I was going to say like Flemulous, because they just really, they're just disgusting in every way. But they were telling me, which I'm trying to get a job with them in San Francisco, but I guess forget that. So they were, telling me what to do, what I couldn't play. Basically, they told me what I couldn't play. And they were just the meanest people to work for in Huntsville, Alabama. And so Colin, who we worked for Cumulus in Ventura, that's how we met. And he was driving cross country to Washington, D.C., and he stopped in Huntsville to visit me. And on that day, it rained so hard. And the lightning struck the building that I was in, the radio station that I was in, and hell no. And it knocked us off the air. So Colin and I went over to a restaurant with my then wife called Rosie's Cantina and had the most delicious dinner there with homemade tortillas y frijoles, dang, I can't speak Spanish very well. But it was so much fun, just the best food. Fajitas, chips and salsa with delicious guacamole. Anyway, that was the podcast picture. But some people walked in, I think, to visit. By the way, yes, let's say hi to them real quick. Hello, my gosh, it's Madame Rootabega. You're getting to this very interesting travel log today. Oh, thank you, madam. Yes, I love to talk about places I've traveled to. I need to travel more. I don't travel much. Look who else is here. Hello there, Mike. It's Valentino, the parking attendant. And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Mike, Washington, D.C. is where there's a lot of politicians there. Yeah, politicians. Do you know that?
Nobody ever told me that politics was going to be so much fun.
Yeah, because of people like that, I don't really like to go to Washington, D.C. But it's nice to visit if you've never been there. It's worth a visit. Check out the John F. Kennedy Center. If you go during the summer, there's usually a free show there that you can go to. And there's just a lot to see. George Washington University, Georgetown University. There's all the embassies. That was a fun thing Colin and I did. We went to there was an open embassy day where we got to see all the embassies that represent countries in Europe. The one that England has, a huge statue of Winston Churchill out front. Just amazing. Oh, the Italian one? No. Yeah, it was the Italian one is built really neat. It's got this big open skylight, round skylight, and they have a little coffee bar in there with the famous Italian Sophia Loren. Who was it? Fellini? Bertini? I can't think of all my Italian directors. That one. There's a picture of him on the wall and some of the famous Italian actors. My point being is that friends are important. They make the world go round, right? But it's so funny when you see friends and they should know your story by now and they miss important information like, oh, wait, I thought you were still married. Wait, how long has it been since I've been divorced? What the? Oh, where do you work again? There was a guy I knew in Ventura who could never remember what radio station I worked for, yet it was the biggest radio station in Ventura. Everybody knew it. This is back when radio was still popular. K-Hay. He should have known what K-Hay was, but what was the station? People just have the funniest selective memories with you at times, or they don't remember anything at all. And they're supposed to be your friends. It drives me nuts. I have to do all the backstory again. Also, Google has decided to get rid of Picasa. Some of you might be going, what the hell is Picasa? Well, back around the time that I went on this trip, by the way, that podcast picture is from almost 10 years ago. But Google had this... Great googly moogly. They had this wonderful program that you could download for free. This software that organized all of your photos. This is before everybody came out with a photo organizing tool. Microsoft has their own now that comes out on the Windows 10 update. But Google had this thing called Picasa, and I used Picasa since 2009. And I just found out yesterday that it has been discontinued, and there will no longer be updates. And basically, you have to uninstall it. It's done. Google is trying to move everyone over to Google Photos, which I love Google Photos. I use that instead of... I basically delete all the pictures off of my phone, and I look at my photos through Google Photos, which requires me to use data or a Wi-Fi connection, but I love it. I love not hogging up all the space, and some people I'll just leave all the photos on my phone. What if you lose your phone? You should back that up, is what I'm saying. But that is what I found out yesterday. And then people Why do people listen to Fresh Air with Terry Gross? It is on every freaking public radio station in America. You can't listen to the podcast. I've not been able to find the podcast on Google Play. I refuse to go to iTunes on my phone. I didn't download iTunes on my Samsung phone. But so Fresh Air comes on and Terry Gross puts me to sleep when she talks. And she had on this comedian who is black, and I only bring that up because he brought it up, and that he talks about issues that the black community would laugh at. For example, that there has been no patriotic song sung by African Americans. White people sing a lot of America. You got your the song "Proud to Be an American," Lee Greenwood. Okay, Toby Keith sings patriotic stuff. Yet, who is there any? And he was like, no black singers have ever sung patriotic songs except for James Brown, who sang "Living in America," but he singled out places, cities. It's all about cities. When singers in the African American community sing, it's about a specific, hey, Miami, and all that stuff. That was my rendition of the song Miami. So Mr. James Brown even though he had the song Living in America. Now I dispute that. What about Ray Charles singing? Now he brought up Ray Charles singing Georgia, but he said Georgia, that's about a state. And, Atlanta has a song about it. But he goes, no, he forgot about America. America. Ray Charles sang that as a super patriotic song. So, Fresh Air, done with it. And that's all I had to say today. I am done with my show. Oh, wait. Before we wrap up the show, this is my wrap up the show music. All right. I wanted to say one other thing, and that is it's April Fool's Day coming up on Sunday, and we get this little memo that tells us, be careful if you're on the radio of doing a hoax. A station will want to make a blind call to a person as part of a prank, frankly. For example, stations have been known to call people to falsely advise them that they have won an award, or even to advise them of a fictitious family tragedy. Any phone call that does not first advise the called party that the call is being broadcast or is being taped for future broadcast cannot be used over the airways, even though that prior notice spoils all the fun. If you are listening to a radio station and they do hey, let's call up this guy, he won't know what's going on, and they burp, 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 ding, ding. Hello? Yeah, man, your wife just died. What? Oh my God, that's terrible. When you hear a call like that, it's fake. Fake. All those calls are fake. Oh my gosh. There's some that get away with it, and they do a little, they're being illegal, and they're doing it at their own peril. But for the most part, they cannot do it. They cannot. It is an FCC violation. Section 73.1206, and a form of violation for which the FCC consistently fines the offending station. Remember that when you hear any of that. That is, by the way, if you are on a radio station, you are really not supposed to what's this say? A hoax that causes the police force to divert resources or that causes the destruction of property. Yeah, that's a bad thing. Also, gags involving earthquakes, tsunamis, nuclear power plant disasters, or phony emergency alert system tests. Yeah, FCC will crack down on you. Which, common sense, but there are a lot of people in radio that have no common sense. There are some people in radio that consistently tell me that they're going to quit, and they don't, and they keep going for another 5 years. That happens in radio, and I bring that up for no reason other than that it's a thing. The NRA has told U.S. senators that it accepted foreign funds, but used none to back Trump. That's the National Rifle Association. They told a leading Senate Democrat that the gun rights group has accepted foreign donations. There's a newfound organ. They have detailed the structure and distribution of spaces in your body that they say represent a newfound human organ, that this organ just might be your body's biggest. It's the part of the body known as the interstitium, a name for a widespread fluid-filled spaces within and between tissues all over your body. Now, this is according to a published journal scientific report. Some scientists, though, are disputing that. Some experts are not convinced. Doctors and scientists have known about interstitial tissue and fluid, but the study provides fresh insights into a previously unrecognized feature of human anatomy, and researchers are raising the idea of calling the interstitium an actual organ. CDs and vinyl have outsold digital downloads for the first time since 2012. I could not believe that when I heard that story on my way in to work today. It took, let's see. And then I don't have time to go into the reasons for that, but I think there's a article about that in the Washington Post. Caroline Sunshine is another blonde, a former Disney Channel actress that has joined the Trump White House. He likes the blondes, as we can tell from all existing data. Caroline Sunshine previously starred alongside Zendaya and Bella Thorne on Disney's Shake It Up. And she has interned at the White House. And finally, this lovely lady
traveled to Beijing and met President Xi. Let's go to our chief North Asia correspondent, Stephen Engel. He's following the developments for us out of Tokyo. So, Steve, we finally get some clarity in this mysterious trip, but what do we know what happened?
Well, we do know, according to Shinhwa News Agency, now reporting, along with the Nikkei newspaper here in Japan, that Kim Jong-un did go to China, apparently for 3 days, from March 25th to the 28th. We thought it was a one-day visit, and he did meet with President Xi Jinping in Beijing, according to Shinhwa, and also, according to the Nikkei, he met with
He is willing to talk with the U.S. President Donald Trump, Kim Jong-un, about giving up his nuclear weapons, China said, after he made Kim Jong-un made a surprise visit to Beijing. My roommate is going to be going to Beijing soon. Kim expressed an openness to the U.S. talks during meetings with Chinese President Xi Jinping. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Hong Kong has a Disneyland, and I've mentioned this before, but they have, I think that's where the Pirates of the Caribbean ride is that I was talking about. That is just amazing. They use IMAX type technology, but you're still floating in the water. This screen goes all the way into the water, and they do this cool Pirates of the Caribbean thing. They also do an interesting haunted mansion called Mystic Manor, which involves a collector, an old British collector who's collected a lot of stuff from his safaris all over the world and ancient treasures. And you go into his house, and there's this little monkey that lets loose some of the spirits that are inside these treasures, and they do these amazing effects. Look up Mystic Manor on YouTube, and it's just I watched it over the weekend. And I did watch also, sadly, over the weekend, the self-driving car crash that happened in was it Arizona? And it looked as if Uber, by the way, and it has done a massive step backwards for the self-driving car industry. Uber's closing up divisions. There's a problem with Tesla with one of their auto-driving car functions that they're having to deal with, and it's it's all in the news today. But looking at that video, first off, the driver is not even paying attention to the road. She's looking at her phone, and she's just not even looking up. There's no reason for her to even be there. It's ridiculous. And then the person crossing the road who got killed with walking their bike, it's in the darkness. They're not even, it doesn't even look like they're at a crosswalk. That's what I got from the video. But there's all sorts of things that should have happened with that car. It should have stopped for that pedestrian who lost their life. But yeah, that video I saw on the Wall Street Journal video page, and they talked to experts explaining what may have happened. So that's a sad note to leave on, but a lot more. We probably went into the self-driving car thing too fast. There's so much, lives are at stake, obviously, with self-driving cars, and we've, oh yeah, no problem. There won't be any problems. Next show, it's going to be Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer. Hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening. That was episode 1591.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow.